All right, here we are for another session of the Rich Life Projects, and today is all about the mental health journey, and who I've got on the podcast today is the one and only Casey Lyons from Lyons. Welcome, champion.
It's good to be here.
It's hard to tie you down, brothers. It's hard to tie you down. But you're in Melbourne, so why not? Why not sit together and get going on? What has been happening?
Back to sort of business as normal. Obviously, a few terrible years with COVID. We're lucky that majority of our sort of work is through Queensland and we could operate quite freely. But COVID meant no money was coming in. We were just burning through money. So what we do, we deliver education into schools, businesses, sporting clubs. But through that time, we were just delivering to schools, which we do for free. But it obviously comes at a cost to us. So this year it's been a welcome change and we're getting out and about. Sponsors are coming back in, money's sort of coming back in, and it's a breath of fresh air, I suppose.
Yeah.
And some exciting sort of projects in the works.
Well, let's go back to where it all begun. Back in the day, how did the Lyons brand actually evolve?
Well, we started back in 2013. We lost my best mate, Dwayne Lally, to suicide. Dwayne and I met first day of grade one. We grew up together like brothers. Early years, it was footy. We played footy together. His dad was our coach. Through his teens, he went on to pursue a boxing career. He was an Australian champion boxer.
Oh, wow. I didn't even know that.
Yeah, young age. His coach, Greg Walker, you might know Greg Walker.
Probably not, no.
So he was fighting for a spot on the Com Games against Brad Hoare.
Oh, yeah,
when we were still in
I know
high
Brad
school.
from Sunshine Coast.
Yeah, so Brad's now involved with the charity in bits and pieces, but it's just funny how sort of life works itself out. But I remember, I'd get to school and Dwayne was there with his coach training before school. Yeah, his coach was then there at lunch and they were training, and then straight after school. And kind of through that period, we kind of went apart a bit just because he was chasing his dream. I was trying to do all I could to become an NRL player, although that was unsuccessful, and I learned that pretty quick. Yeah. But, I was doing my best at the time. So, but, we're always close, never too far away on the phone. And I suppose through his early 20s, Dwayne was diagnosed with depression and bipolar. And at the time, he couldn't quite understand it. He couldn't articulate it to us, all the people around him. His friends, we certainly didn't know what that meant. But for me, I just knew that I had to be there when he needed me. There were plenty of ups and downs. I used to get text messages such as, he was a plumber, I was a carpenter. I feel like jumping off the 6th floor today. I can't explain why. 2 hours later, I'd get a message saying, "Hey, bros, having the best day. Can't wait to see you for dinner tonight. Have a good day." Wow. And that was constant for him. And I put myself in his shoes. That must have just been, can't even comprehend that.
Oh, yeah,
You're fighting a war every single day with yourself.
Yeah.
And you don't want to feel that way.
No.
But this all adds to the stigma. And after his passing, we're kind of thrown in the deep end around, throw some grief in there, a lot of grief, a lot of unanswered questions, but also the statistics that surround both mental health and then suicide in this country.
Yeah.
1 in 4 people live with some form of mental illness every single year.
Yeah.
Suicide is the leading cause of death between the ages of 15 and 44. We lose 9.2 people a day.
Really? Wow.
7 or 8 of those are male. Men and women both attempt at the same rate, but men are more, I suppose, violent. We're more impulsive, which I suppose lead to more fatal outcomes. And for every completed suicide, there's another 30 attempts.
Yeah, right.
So we knew that we had to do something. And in this country, there are plenty of great service providers. There really are.
Yep.
But unfortunately, there are people like Dwayne. They don't know where to go to get help. They don't know how to ask for help. And even if they do, the stigma keeps them quiet and stops them from accessing support. Because Dwayne used to say things like, "I'm different, I'm weird, I'm a burden." He was none of these things.
Yeah,
so that's why we started
living. It's a weird thing when people think that, when they're absolutely the opposite.
The opposite. He was the light of many people's life. He'd go out of his way to make sure that people were having a good time. He was the life of the party. Yeah. You hear this also all too often. He's the last person you'd expect to be living with that.
How many times you hear that too?
But behind his smile, he was fighting something that he just didn't know how to articulate and couldn't because of this stigma. So we now do 3 things to break the stigma of mental health. That is, we deliver our mental health education program into schools, businesses, sporting clubs, pretty much anywhere from high school and above. We deliver to schools free of charge. So all money we raise is put back into delivery of that program's program into schools free of charge.
Yep.
We sell Live and Branded apparel.
Yep.
That's to raise revenue to make sure that
100%.
Remains free.
Viable to keep open and do what you do.
Yeah, but it's also a conversation starter.
Yeah.
Our merch has saved lives, and we have anecdotal evidence to back that up. People share their stories with us, and I've got a card that sits on our pin board at work, and it's got $10 in it, and it will always sit there. And it's from a lady that said, "Hey, Live and team, here's $10. I was at an event. I didn't have my wallet. You gave me this sticker. It saved my life because of that sticker.
Wow.
My 3 kids have a mum still."
Wow.
I was walking out to my car to take my life, and that was the last thing I saw, and it stopped me.
Fuck, that's goosebump stuff right there.
It's something as simple as a sticker.
100%.
And
Wow.
that's not the only story we've heard, but that's the one that always rings true. And then there's all the stories we haven't heard.
Yeah, true.
And then thirdly, we've got community-based events right around the country, which could be anything. We've been up and down Castle Hill and Townsville for 24 hours.
Yep.
We've been involved in bake sales, like literally anything. The aim is to bring people together,
Yep.
build that community, and sometimes raise money for us, but not always.
Yeah, right. Wow. That's a massive thing. And it's, I suppose, do you find now we're obviously the 21st century wise, but it's become more important. It's nearly aligning with physical fitness. Like when we're all growing up, you got to be fit. When you become an athlete, you got to be fit. Do you see the whole massive change now coming where people, when they talk about, going to the gym, get way, doing the physical side of things, but people are now aligning themselves with, okay, well, whatever does physical has to also align with mental, because when you realistically think about it, everyone was just thinking about the body a lot of the time, but now your body can't do what your mind's not telling it to do. Obviously, it's your mind is the engine here.
Yeah.
So if that's not right, then the body folds.
Exactly.
And do you see a massive change in this era that we're going through now? Because everywhere I turn, everyone's doing mental health or the word mental health or, that sort of stuff.
I believe, a holistic approach is the best approach. There's a lot of research that tells us that physical health and training is good for your mental health. But I also sort of need to say there are a lot of people that are physically fit, but they still live with poor mental health or mental ill health.
Yep.
That can happen. We are human.
Yep.
But we do need to take a holistic approach. You can't just go in the gym
and
think that you're going to have good mental health, and you can't have good mental health and then think you're going to be physically fit. So that holistic approach where we're really taking care of our mind, our body and our soul, for me, that's self-care.
Yeah.
We preach self-care, and I'd love to, pull out a prescription pad, prescribe some self-care, but self-care is what, you enjoy.
That's right.
But it's also what you can do consistently.
Yeah.
Because that's the key.
Yeah. And you're right. That is the key. I think all of us in our personal life, we're always, you see the ones who are going through mental health, I'll go, yep, okay, well, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to stay consistent of that. Then gets a week or two and then they're off on their little tangent. But then, the ones who are there consistent every single day, this is what I could do. That's their therapy. Like myself personally, the gym for 1 hour a morning is to sweat it out and tell my brain that we are physically getting fit. Yeah. Then it might be a 6K run, where I've got music in my ears, and that's like a therapeutic thing for me because I'm breathing fresh air. I'm thinking of things that are in my life. The sun, vitamin D, golf at the moment because I'm an avid golfer, but that just is getting out, and it's like a therapy to me, even though people wouldn't think that because you get so frustrated with golf, but
I'm the same.
It is.
It's my thing too.
It is. You get out there, hit the ball, you challenge yourself, which is then activating the brain because you want to obviously hit better balls, you want to get better scores, and at the same time you're out in the nature, you're out in breathing fresh air.
But while you're trying to hit a better ball, what aren't you thinking about?
That's right. Yeah, exactly right.
And that's why golf works for me.
Yeah.
I'm only thinking about getting that ball in that hole. Might take 20 shots.
Yeah.
But I'm not thinking about work or, all the other sort of troubles in life. I'm thinking about just getting that ball in that hole.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's frustrating.
It is. But, the things like you see a lot of people doing now, the ice baths, like the ice baths that I do myself, get the freezer, ice it up. That is a mental challenge for me. And it is, I know, for a lot of people, because then you got to sit in for 3 minutes in that icy cold water and your body goes through so much. But it's also, there's so many benefits mentally, because one, you learn how to breathe under stress. Two, you mentally got to focus on nothing else but your body freezing. Yes. And I find that, and those are little trigger things for me. But a lot of people got so many different things that they do. They might just go for a bike ride or meet every morning for a coffee. That's their thing. There's so many things to do. And as you say, with the stigma of talking about it is probably the major thing we've got to try and get across.
Yeah, but also self-care, it's important. People get so busy now. Our lives are so busy, but people need to understand that if they prioritize self-care, and that can just be for 10 to 15 minutes a day, it's going to make you a better employee or a better boss, a better husband, better father, whatever it is, it's going to make you better at.
Yep.
But also be kind to yourself. You know, life does happen. If you go away and you skip a few days, that's okay. Come back, start again. Don't get down on yourself.
Yep.
Life happens. But just find out what you enjoy, what makes you happy, but then also what you can do consistently. Because, you know, I'd love to tell everyone to go out for a run, but that might not be able to run.
That's right.
Get out for a walk.
Yep.
Or your self-care could be ringing someone in your life that makes you feel good. Do that.
Yep.
But it's important, and you have to prioritize. You need to schedule it into your calendar so it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah.
Because, you know, I put my hand up. I neglected myself for a long time, and I was lucky in a way. I didn't succumb to mental ill health, but I ended up with psoriatic arthritis.
Yeah. Okay.
Ended up losing 20 kilos. I was hospitalized, but this was all because I wasn't prioritizing self-care.
Yep.
And now it's a non-negotiable.
Yeah, 100%. And you're right. Everyone does go, oh, look, you know, my New Year's resolution this year, I'm going to make time for myself and make time for myself. Next minute, work takes over, kids take over, all the wife takes over. Everything is just full busy. And it's a simple thing as you may even do something for 10 or 15 minutes in your own house, in a room, you know, put a little bit of music on, do running for 10 minutes on the spot, do 50 push-ups to make your mindset go, I've just done a 15-minute workout, and later on tonight when the kids go to bed, I'm going to do another 15 minutes. That's 30 minutes a day that I'm catering. That's when the neglect starts, because you think life is so busy. But then when you get to that stage, and I hear it and see it so much, when people's lives, the excuse is I'm so busy with not training, but then when the priority changes, when they get ill or something happens, then all of a sudden, now I'm going to make that priority no matter what. You know, as much as it was hard or easy, whatever, but you should have probably made that priority as number one. And I feel when you get into probably being an athlete or being someone who's done it for so many years, sometimes it reverses, because I used to have mental, okay, I'm getting up in the mornings to train. And then you go through your training, but if you miss a day, then you overthink things. You get depressed. You're like, fuck, you know, now you're out of routine. Oh my God. And if I'm out of routine, I lose it. I'm like, oh my God, I'm out of routine.
And your self-talk becomes what?
Yeah. Well, that's right. And it's just, I've had to then deal with that. Okay, well, if I miss a day. I've got to then pick it up the next day. I've got to make sure I stay on at least 3 to 5 days a week doing the physical thing. And I say that's for my mental health. So many people will put so aside, and I've got friends that put probably aside for 20 odd years, and they get to the point where they're, obese, or they're unfit and smoking and drinking. And then they get to the, depression, fighting with their wives, separation, divorce, whatever. Then they think to themselves, fuck, I should have changed a lot of things 20 years ago.
Yeah.
But as much as you go around preaching that or saying, I'm living that life now, where you got to do it when you're 20 into that commitment. That's probably a thing where you guys with living is going around trying to preach, get into your self-care and your mental health through the schools and everything else.
Just start where you can. You don't need to go out there tomorrow and run a marathon.
No, that's
just
exactly.
Start wherever you can.
Mm.
And as we sort of said earlier, when people start to fall off, they start to get negative on themselves and sort of compounds.
Yeah.
Just ask yourself, what advice would you give a best friend in that situation?
Yes.
Because oftentimes the advice we give a best friend or a loved one is positive.
That's right.
It's realistic,
right.
But the advice we give ourselves, negative and unrealistic.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's like the fitness industry, so to speak. Everyone goes there in the new year, right? I'm going to get 12 months membership, and I'm in the fitness industry. We've got a gym obviously here in Melbourne, and then I see the crew coming in, and I'll see them for a month. And then boom, there's no more. And I'm like, then 6 months down the track, I'm back in. Is my membership still going? I've got to get my mindset back in. And, you see it all. And it's the life probably circle that everyone's going through. But the priorities, the interest rates go up, which they are at the moment. The next minute, I can't afford the gym. I'll just do my own workouts at home. Okay, the own workouts at home get boring. There's no one there to motivate you. You haven't got friends with you to do something. So then that lacks. And it's just like a domino effect, isn't it?
Yeah, absolutely.
Like that $15 or $30 a week that you're paying to make sure you get to that fitness facility to get your mental health right.
People just need to sit down, take some time and write some goals and keep themselves accountable to those goals. Because if they don't have goals,
it's like anything. You're just existing. You're going through life going, what are we going to do? What am I going to do?
No accountability. They're soon going to drop off. So take that time as an investment to keep yourself accountable and set some goals on what you're trying to achieve.
Yep. And where did we say our good friend Sam Webb, where did he come into it?
Sammy, Dwayne and I, we grew up together.
Okay.
So Dwayne and I went to school together. Sammy went to a different school, but we all grew up.
Was it the only boys' school or what? No, Sammy,
No, he went to Sammy was a little bit naughty in high school.
Was he?
Not naughty. He was we all were. We were cheeky.
Can we tell tales on here or what about Sammy? Or what? He's not here. We better not talk.
We're just boys. That's all. Well, we're just I suppose cheeky boys. That's what we were growing up. We weren't naughty as in breaking the law or anything. No. We were just cheeky.
Yeah.
But we grew up on the Goldie, so and sort of in similar areas. So whether it was playing footy together or hanging out on the weekend, we all grew up together. And at the time of Dwayne's death, I was living in Sam Webb's house.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh,
so and on the night Dwayne died, Sam was actually with him.
Oh, no way.
They were at a party, so. I was meant to be there, but I was at a different party, and actually Dwayne was meant to be with me.
Yeah,
but he'd had a few too many drinks after work, so he
bailed and went to Sammy.
He had his own party at his house.
Yeah, right.
But I was committed to another party, so we all grew up together, and now Sammy's over in LA, chasing the dream of becoming an actor.
Yep.
He's got his beautiful fiancée and they're about to get married.
Oh, really? I see him on Survivor. Is that the American Survivor?
No, Australian.
Australian, yeah.
Yeah, okay. So he's back for his second
stint.
Second stint.
He couldn't get enough of the first one, so he's back with the second one.
No, he loves it.
Yeah.
Probably something I'll never understand because I don't think I'll be on Survivor, but he loves it.
I'd have a crack. I'd have a crack at a few of the reality, not long as it's not maths or something like that, but I'd have a crack at Survivor and something that's physical and probably mental challenge. That'd be probably
it's a tough show. The good people get voted out.
I know. Well, that wouldn't be me then. Everyone don't like me, so it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I'd probably fly under the radar.
Yeah, well, that's exactly right. So when we're talking and you guys, once Dwayne sort of passed away, what was the whole, okay, that's the clicking moment, we're going to start living. Obviously, why living? What's the name?
Explain it.
What's the name to do with living?
There's a story there.
Yeah.
We'll get into that. I can't explain it. Like, I went and saw him in the hospital, and I don't want to sort of get too morbid, but I remember going to the hospital and first time I ever had to go down. We went down. As soon as I got out of that elevator, I could hear his family screaming.
Wow.
And I remember going into the room and a nurse or a police officer, I can't remember, but they just kept talking, and there was a curtain similar to this curtain.
Yeah.
And just kept telling me, I said, I don't care, just shut the fuck up. I want to see him.
Yeah.
And the moment they pulled that curtain back, I don't remember too many things. I've had a few head knocks in my life, but I'll never forget that moment. And I don't know, it was like, in a way, as I said earlier, Dwayne always went out of his way to help people.
Yeah.
I don't know, just something said to me, we need to do something. We need to stop people from joining Dwayne.
Yeah.
And that's why we started Living.
Okay.
As I said, there's plenty of great service providers, but plenty of people like Dwayne. And our job is to make people feel comfortable in putting their hand up and asking for help, or making people feel comfortable in reaching out to people in their life that they identify as struggling.
Yeah.
And just how to have that conversation and then how to provide support.
Yeah.
Because we believe we all have the power to change a life, whether that be our own or someone else's.
Yeah.
We just need to know what to do.
Yep.
And feel confident in doing that. So, Livin, the name Livin. So Dwayne, if you go through his Instagram, as I said, Dwayne was cheeky, but a lot of his hashtags are Livin or just Livin.
Okay.
We'd never spoken about doing anything.
Yeah.
But I remember I was living in Sam Webb's house. Sam Webb has undiagnosed OCD, clean freak.
Yeah.
Big time.
Don't talk about that then. I might be good friends with Sam then.
I used to make my toast, and before I could even eat my toast, he's cleaning up the crumbs.
Yep, okay.
You know, the
exactly
type that would make
Sam.
you feel uncomfortable. But Sam was living in America at the time, and I had a party for my 23rd, 24th, however old we were.
Yeah.
And we had a few beers, and Dwayne goes, let's have a ceiling party. I go, what the fuck's a ceiling party? Before I could even finish that, he's run inside, grabbed a 4-legged dining chair and just chucked it straight through the ceiling.
Oh, no.
And then pulled it down and done it again. And I've gone, my floor's on my jaw's on the floor.
Oh, no. All the
And I'm like,
plaster and that or what?
what the fuck have you done?
Oh, my God.
And with the big cheeky grin, he goes, just living.
Wow.
And then he's ran to my room, grabbed my laptop, which was probably this big at the time, pulled it out and brought Skype up and Sam Webb on Skype showing, look what we just did.
Oh, no.
And my jaw is still on the floor. And he said, don't worry, bros, I'll be back tomorrow. And sure as shit, hungover as my birthday's same as yours, November 3rd.
Yep.
It's hot. He's crawling through my ceiling, back blocking it the next morning.
Wow.
And I'm yelling out, who's living now?
Wow.
So that's where the name kind of stuck, because it's also what we want people doing. We want people out there living.
Yep.
And 8 week to speak just was kind of a fluke. Someone said it in a conversation, it stuck, and
yeah, right. And it's
we
been a
use it.
very powerful hashtag ever since, because even when I was in Newcastle, and I remember, getting to know you guys and wearing the living and promoting the living stuff as well. Yeah, everyone was like, even I think Nathan Ross, the big Ross dog, he was one of the advocates for living.
Yeah.
And a few of the obviously big celebs who have come through the times, Chris Hemsworth wearing the living jumpers and a few other high profile people. So it's definitely got that sort of profile now as being one of Australia's leading mental health, especially the hashtags, is an 8 week to speak. But how was it when you started because I probably hadn't even had any idea how to do a foundation or anything. You probably obviously heard how people have got foundations, but
no, we had no idea. So when we first started, we didn't have the intention of becoming a charity. We first did some shirts for Dwayne's funeral.
Yes, okay.
Had Dwayne's face on it. Had some lyrics from Follow the Sun, Xavier Rudd.
Yeah.
Because that was kind of a line on his Instagram.
Yeah, right.
And then we went to give the money to his parents, and they turned around and said, no, do something positive with it.
Okay.
So we donated money to the local Headspace on Gold Coast.
Yeah.
Great charity.
Yeah.
And but then over time we kind of just thought more about it, and we're like, we love what Headspace do, I really do.
Yeah,
but
100%, they're great.
We saw that missing link, and we wanted to be that conduit between people like Dwayne and then them ending up in a wonderful support service like Headspace.
Yeah, right.
And we just couldn't find anyone that was doing that. And that's kind of where Living came from. Early days we were donating money back to them, and it kind of just, the next step was education, and we built out the program. And from where that was to where it is now is light years. But I think what worked in our favour to begin with was we were so naive.
Yeah,
we didn't understand what was possible or what wasn't.
You were just risking anything because just for the passion of doing it.
We didn't see it as a risk because we had no idea.
That's right.
Had we probably seen it as a risk, we wouldn't have done it. We would have been scared. We didn't have proper business plans. And we grew up at probably that right era. Like social media was just kicking off. It was so easy to use influencers that we'd grown up with, rugby league players, rugby league players, MMA fighters.
You have had too many punches.
Oh, mate, I've had a few kicks to the head. AFL players. All these sort of people are seen as strong, as tough individuals.
Yeah.
That's why we use them to push our message of it ain't weak to speak.
Yeah, right.
Because if a young child or a teenager's idol is saying it ain't weak to speak and encouraging you to put your hand up and ask for help, then hopefully that's going to rub off on them, and they're going to put their hand up and ask for help. Yeah,
it is a good platform to do, especially if you're, teaming up with these guys who have got some good profile sort of platforms. Definitely to
so it's a bit of a
help.
fluke.
Yeah,
and I don't recommend people do that, but
yeah,
it worked for us.
But sometimes sometimes it's that when you're not really knowing what's going to happen, you're just passionate about that core thing as, okay, our friend passed away. Living's a great name. We want to do something positive. It ain't weak to speak, it evolves. And then you just go with the flow. And surprising enough, when there's no business plan or anything like that, they usually work to a certain extent.
Yeah.
Then it gets to that height and that sort of that height, as I said, then you've got to go, okay, well, what's the business plan here? We can't just, or else it just fizzles to nothing. You got no data to show people or whatever. So that would have been probably another big learning once you got the living, and then having to know the probably question you had to ask yourselves and other people, how is living going to change lives?
Well, for us, we believe education is vital. With education comes understanding. With understanding comes acceptance, and with acceptance comes hope. But particularly in that sort of impressionable ages of that teenage years, if we can get in early, what's the analogy? Can't teach an old dog new tricks.
Yes.
Hopefully these teenagers grow up knowing that it's a normal part of life, but it's not normal just to keep it inside.
No.
Yeah, we can only get through these struggles by getting through them, by getting the support that is out there, whether that be professional or through the people in your life. But we won't get through it by just keeping it in.
Do you think that's changing a bit at the moment because it's been a big dominance, because we all say, cliche, the women always get together and they always talk about their feelings, talk about what's going on in their life. But men get together and it's been like a bit of a stigma where they want to talk about all the boys things, all the ladies and all the drinking and all the good times and fun. But if someone back in the day said, hey guys, I'm not really feeling myself, something's going on, the reaction back then would have went, harden up, mate, you pussy, get out of it, what's going on? Do you see that changing with men now?
Certainly. And it's great. It really is. Like, the people are starting to show that vulnerability and put their hand up when they are struggling, or, they're going out of their way to check in on their mates just to see how they're doing. Yeah. And for us, it's great to see. But while I'm sort of touching on that, there is a time for that tough love as well, whether that be for yourself or, like, resilience is a big factor. Yeah. And we can't just be so, there's a time to cuddle people, there really is.
That's right.
But then there's a time where you need to keep them accountable and hold them to the plans that you have worked out. Otherwise, if nothing changes, nothing changes.
Yeah. And that's probably where some of the rumours or some of the talk now in amongst society is, the generation these days we're sort of raising is soft, and they, once they have a bad day or a sad day, then it's depression.
Yeah.
And that's the hard line, isn't it? Because there is ones who go, fuck, I'm having a bad day and I'm depressed. Then there's ones who go, no, I've had a sad day, but fuck it, I must be depressed. It's a fine line, isn't it? It
is hard. And people need to understand that, yeah, you might have depression, but depression or any mental illness is often defined by, there's a few symptoms. When you experience those consecutively for a period of 2 weeks or longer.
Yeah.
But you also go to a mental health professional and become, you get a diagnosis.
Yeah.
Just because you have a diagnosis doesn't change who you are.
No.
I'm not saying that, but yeah, it is not good when people just throw out these terms. It can add to stigma. It can even sort of lessen people who are legitimately going through these problems and the extent in which they've got to go through them.
Yep.
So language is important, and we've got to be careful in which
wording
we say.
And,
calling people psychos or nutbags. I understand that some people are just using these as throwaway terms, but you can be adding to stigma and you can be stopping people from accessing support.
Yeah. I'd love whether it ever would come about. I would, especially what we've been through in the last couple of years, I would love the government to realistically, it's like Medicare with the bulk billing. I'd love the government to allow people to access a psychologist or some sort of professional for free. Yeah.
But yeah, that is a great place to start. And while I'm talking about mental health professionals, it's important to find the right fit.
Yeah.
Like, I didn't marry the first girl that I took on a date.
Yeah.
And I don't think we have friendships, relationships with every single person we meet. We don't necessarily buy the first pair of shoes we try on. What we do, we find what works for us and we find the right fit.
Yeah.
Mental health professional is no different. Just because they're a mental health professional doesn't mean that you're going to have a good connection with them.
That's right. That's a good
which
point.
will then lead to good outcomes. So I'm sorry if you have a bad experience with that first or even second mental health professional, but please give yourself permission and give yourself that time to find the right fit, because when you do, your life is going to start to get better.
Yeah.
And that is certainly worth it.
Yeah. No, that's a great point. Great point. So when a lot of guys, they've gone through that stage, or girls, they've gone through that stage. I mean, from personal experiences, I found actually going in to talk to someone helped immensely. Like, it's such a different feeling when you're bottling up and you're like, fuck, I can't talk to that person. I don't want to talk to that person. I don't want them to trouble them. I don't want them to be worrying about me. But when you go to a professional and you don't know that person, so you're really just talking to someone you don't really know, but they're professional enough to listen and they've been through that before. It's such a big difference, isn't it? When we say you try and get it off your chest.
Is there anything in particular about going to see them that you remember that kind of sticks out to you? Like what they did to make you feel a certain way?
I think they were obviously prompting different questions of why I was there.
Yeah. And
I think when I talked about that, I think I was just like, I just really felt as if I knew that person, because they're probably so good at of becoming like a friend type thing. And I was like, oh, this person actually sits and listens and then prompts what I'm talking about. So they're actually listening to me, and they don't talk. They're going, tell me more. So then you're in this place, and obviously you're paying some dollars. You're like, oh, well, this is why I'm feeling. Why am I feeling this? If I'm sitting at the table with my family and nothing's absolutely wrong, why am I getting like a dark cloud over the top of my body and feeling all these emotions and bad intentions that I have in my mind? And for me to get better at that, then I walked outside. I would stop having dinner with my family sometimes just to go outside to get fresh air, go for a walk and talk to myself in regards to trying to figure out what was going on. Sometimes I'd obviously ring mum when she was alive, but then I'd be fucking in tears like, Mum, what is going on? Why am I feeling like this? And my family had nothing to do with it. Like my kids, they were young, my wife at that time. Nothing was bad in that situation. Whether it was stress going through the business that I was going through, I'm not quite sure. Whether it was things that I was doing, who knows. But yeah, sometimes I'd ring mum and she'd just sit on the phone. Yes, darling, I've gone through that. I know what you're feeling. And then you get in front of someone and they go, tell me what you're feeling. So then you're splurting it all out. But at the same time as you're telling this person who you don't even know, but you're telling them the deep secrets of what's going in your mind, that was more the whole getting it off your chest. And then when you've said it out loud, you're like, it's like fucking a balloon being let down. I was like, oh, fuck, why couldn't I do that before with me family and friends?
Fear of judgment.
Probably being a hindrance to them. They've got their own things going on. I don't know. I can't really pinpoint why it was like that, but I definitely talking to a stranger and having them just sit there and go, listen, I was like, wow, I'm talking what's going on. It was such a big difference.
Yeah, I'll talk to that. And that's why Living exists, but it's probably a good segue on how you can provide support as a friend.
Yeah.
Something our psychologist at Living says a lot, and it's not his saying, it's a common saying. When it comes to advice giving or providing support to a friend, we have two ears and one mouth. It's important to listen twice as much than what you speak. Because when you listen to someone and you avoid all distractions like your phone, the clock, and you're truly listening to them, people will often tell you exactly what they want and exactly how you can help them. But you just need to be able to listen and just let them talk. Because when you're throwing in advice giving or this or that, you're not letting them talk and they're not being heard and they just feel worse.
Yeah, that's actually a great point.
But a great way to sort of, people always ask us, how do we start that conversation initially? A great sort of technique that I use.
That was my next question. I was going to say, what are some of the ways in regards to, self-care in our own mental health?
Yeah, so I think when reaching out to a friend, it's always once again always important to prioritize your own self-care. We're better at everything when we're prioritizing ourselves. But a great way to reach out to a friend is sort of use some things that you've noticed in conversation, not against them, but as a talking point. So hey, Rich, I noticed lately that you've been coming to the gym a little bit late. You look like you haven't had a shave lately. These things could be normal for someone else, but for you, they're out of character. And that's why I've used them in this conversation. So find things, it'd be great for me to list all the different warning signs and symptoms. Yeah. But the one I like to use the best is any change in what would be typical behavior for that person.
Yeah.
And any change doesn't mean that they have a mental illness or they're living with mental ill health. It just means that could be your invitation to reach out.
That's right.
And start that conversation. Hey, Rich, I noticed you've been late lately. Is anything going on? Is there anything I can help with? You don't need to whack on the white coat. You don't need to go into fix-it mode. You just need to be an ear for them and you just need to listen. Mm. And then, if the conversation goes down the path and you can ask, are you suicidal if it gets to that point?
Yeah.
Like I don't suggest just open with that question.
Open with that question.
But if it leads to it, the research tells us that it is okay to ask that question. You're not going to encourage them to then take their life.
No.
But then, if someone confides in you, it's then about building that sort of trust and then recommending, how about we go to the doctor?
Yeah.
How about we call Lifeline? How about, if anyone is ever in imminent danger, 000, do not fuck around.
Yeah, yeah.
Even if they've told you, I'll be okay, or if you've got that feeling in your gut, do not fuck around. Mm. You'd rather than be angry at you for 5 minutes, 10 minutes.
That's right. Getting the help they need.
Get the help that they need. So, sorry if I confused anyone there.
No.
Just try and keep it simple. And try and relax. You can be like the duck where you're looking calm on top of the surface, but underneath you're frantic. But you just need to listen to them. Let them do the talking.
And that gets back to my next question. What are some of the signs, through your experience and having Living Foundation going, what's some of the signs of depression from your point of view? Yeah,
that's hard. As I kind of just said, that like I'd love to list them. Yep. Some can be sort of they contradict each other.
Yep.
Like I look at Dwayne. I knew Dwayne sort of behind the scenes. But Dwayne was always happy. He was always up. He was always high. So people, if I told you that a sign of depression is someone staying in their bed, eating bad.
Yes.
All those sort of signs and symptoms, they wouldn't have seen that in Dwayne. Or they might not see that in the next person. That's why I like to use the line, any change in what would be typical behavior for that person.
Yeah.
That is your opportunity to reach out to them and say, hey, I've noticed this lately. What's going on? Is there something I can help you with?
Yeah.
But I suppose the more common ones, lack of joy in life, getting too much sleep or not enough sleep, could keep you up at night, weight loss, but even weight gain.
Yep.
So there's a lot of contradictions here.
It's definitely like double-edged sword for both, isn't there?
Some people become overly happy as a way to mask it.
Yep. And we've seen that in comedians, particularly like Robin Williams and a few comedians that I used to follow as well. They're that, I suppose, when you're a comedian, your whole life is making people happy, but then who is making you happy? That must be a torture in itself. When your whole job is to make people laugh, make people happy, but you haven't got that person helping you.
Well, no one's probably ever reached out to them and said, hey, what's going on?
Yeah, true.
Because I've just seen them smiling or making other people happy. But it's why it's important to know the people in our lives well and to check in on them. Even if you don't notice any changes in behaviour, how you going? Like, what's been going on in your life lately? I'm here for you. And when you reach out to someone, they might not be ready to talk to you that first time either.
No, exactly.
But you can always just end the conversation with, mate, you might not be ready right now, but if you ever are, I'm a phone call away. Please call me.
No,
and
definitely.
then check in on them in a week's time. You're not going to annoy them as long as you're not texting them 24/7.
That's right, yeah.
Some subtle, gentle reminders. Keep checking in. Another, I suppose, warning sign, obviously substance abuse.
Yes.
And, if they're smacking the piss or whatever too much.
Yep.
That's another
downfall as well.
Absolutely.
Yep.
Hunting too much.
Yep.
Eating shit food, whatever it is.
Yep.
If you notice these things, just reach out and explore what's going on.
Yeah. And that's the next question. That's exactly what, how do you start the conversation? And you just pressed on that, just even if it's just little texts or little, what's happening, mate? I've seen a change in you or anything like that. The conversation can be started realistically any way, can't it? You can be talking about, did you watch the football this weekend? Oh, mate, it was crazy. It's crazy, but, and then you get how you been feeling anyway for all this week? And,
exactly. Just try not to overcomplicate it. People get scared because they feel as though they then have to fix that person. It's not the case. Just listen. Yeah. You can throw in a little bit of advice like, oh, I've been through that before. This is what I tried.
Yes.
But don't try and downplay what they're going through with your own experiences.
Yep.
Like, I went through this. This is what I tried. Might work for you, might not.
Yep.
But yeah,
it's a big shoe fitting experience, really, isn't it? Because every single person is totally different. In my view, in this life, every human being is different. Even if they look the same, act the same, they're totally different, obviously, in their spirit and their soul, whatever. But
that's what makes life beautiful.
100%. But it's, as you said earlier, it's really, if you are feeling these feelings and you go and have a bad experience with one, whether it's a psychologist or you're with a friend or whatever it may be, don't just give up on that stage and go, you know what, I need to, it's like trying the shoes, buy the first one, all the examples you give, just keep trying till you find something that does fit. Even if it's phoning, Lifeline, Beyond Blue, Living, there's access there. Keep trying till something fits.
And I understand for some people that is hard, that is tiring, because it could have taken them all of their courage and all of their might to reach out to that person, but it is worth it. There are people out there that care about you, and there are people out there that genuinely want to help you live a healthy and happy life. Yep. You just need to let them.
That's right. And that's again, another great point is when people watching or listening to this, how do I do it? You just go, let them do it. Let them help you in regards to listening to what you're going through. Because some people, obviously, they're prepared to help someone with a bit of ill health, but they say, oh, no, I don't want you to be a hindrance to you. I don't want you to, I don't want to just be too much on your plate. You already got your plate doing. It doesn't take much to take a minute or two to listen. So let someone listen to you.
Absolutely. Like, your listeners are probably very tough, very, strong-willed. And I don't care how strong or tough they are or how stoic they think they are. We all have struggles from time to time, and we all need help from time to time. That doesn't make you less of a person.
No.
That makes you more of a person that you admitted that you needed help. You put your hand up and you got some support, because you can then be in a better position to help someone else in your life that might need it.
Yeah. And to do that come from a place where, I've talked to someone, they've helped me, and then you go and give that gift to someone else is just it's like a whole Christmas present in itself. You're going, well, I helped that person as well. And that's where a domino effect is. And that's obviously what living's about, is connecting a community to talk about the living, the depression, the mental health. And then it's like social media. One person shares it, the other person shares it. Then next minute you got all this community that goes, oh, the living brand. I know why that's here or why that's doing that and everything else. So it is definitely an important point to that.
I hope so. I hope I know we're having a positive impact, but I hope we can continue to have that positive impact. And because as our name says, we just want people living again.
Yep.
We don't want people surviving or having a shit time. We want you to live and live to the fullest. So
when you've at the stage you're at, we're obviously over COVID, we're now into the whole new year of 2023 and things, as you say, new projects. What's the vision of living for you? Because it's at a very good platform now. Like, a lot of people in Australia know what living is. They know, the mental health side of things. Where's the journey continue, and what's your sort of goals in regards to the Living Foundation?
Yeah, so we can always be better. Internally, we need to sort of build out our efficiencies through process procedure. And, we recently brought on a GM that's going to help free up my time. He can sort of focus on the team. So I suppose we can be more sort of efficient, like run as a business. Like, we are a charity, but you still got to run the business side of it.
That's right.
Our program, we got to, every single year life evolves, life's different. So we need to stay on top of our program development to make sure it's still relatable. We've got some great people that help out with that. So we really need to sort of build out the research and our data behind the program. we're building out some wonderful partnerships this year. So through the month of March, we're going to have a partnership with Donut King right around the country.
Beautiful, beautiful.
Yeah, so that one's going to be exciting. That just gives us a great opportunity to impact more people right around the country. There's a lot of exciting things in the works.
That's good.
But they're probably like the three main ones.
Yeah.
Just increase our efficiencies. Just get back. It's just good to be back out to the community.
Yeah.
We really want to grow through the Eastern Seaboard. We've got a great sort of standing right around the country. Good team in Perth, a smaller team in Adelaide, but we need to kind of smash the Eastern Seaboard again because through COVID, Queensland was fine, but New South Wales, Victoria, we just couldn't access those states.
Yeah, there's a major struggle in those two states for sure.
Yeah, I don't know how you guys did it up in Queensland.
I was lucky because I spent the first year of lockdown in Newcastle, so I just went to the beach and coffee. So Newcastle wasn't realistically locked down, but the second year when I moved to Melbourne, damn, wasn't that an eye-opener? And you weren't allowed out anywhere.
We're like high school kids again.
Mate, it
sneaking
was
around everywhere.
It was like that, eh? It was a crazy time, but so obviously I'm going to be putting some details on this episode. What's the website with people who want to go and look at Living and just see some of the great stuff that you guys are doing?
Yeah, so before I touch on that, I just remember one sort of other exciting project, and it's been going for a while, so I always forget it. We're building out an animated video series.
Oh, all right.
So in this animated video series, like our program, we go out, we deliver it, we're kind of telling people how to do things. What we're hoping to achieve through this animated video series is we're showing you how to do these things in context. Yeah. So that should be released before June 30 this year, and that's going to be exciting.
That'll be
we'll
exciting.
Blast that out. That'll be everywhere. But to find us, www.livin.org, and then any of the social media platforms at Livin.org, and Livin is Livin.
Yep.
We don't know how to spell.
No, 100%. And on your shirt, obviously you got the shirt there so they can see. And to finish off on obviously our session here today, if I was to ask you, and obviously being the founder and part of the founding group who come up with Living, what's your rich life? What gives Casey Lyons the rich life in his heart and his spirit these days, and what you guys have achieved and what you at present? What's your rich life?
I suppose, obviously, seeing my wife works with us. I get to work with my wife every single day. We are fortunate enough to work in something that it is our life. There's no sort of distinction between work and home for us because it just blends into one.
Yep.
When we're not in the office, we're still working.
Some people would disagree with that.
But we love it.
Yeah.
We absolutely love it. We're so passionate about it. Like our kids, I do this now for my kids. I don't want them to grow up in a world where they're losing friends to suicide or they don't know how to talk about what they're going through.
Good point.
As any parent, I devote my life to my kids.
Yep.
But then I suppose bringing it back to Living, the only thing I ever need to hear is I'm doing Dwayne's family proud.
Yep.
And they tell me regularly.
Yep.
I stayed with them last night here in Melbourne.
Yeah.
And that's what fills my cup up. Like, I'm doing it for everyone.
Yeah.
But they are the reason, and I just want to make them know that their son's legacy will live on.
Live on that.
Because if he had his time over again, he would have chose he would have made a different decision.
I believe a lot of people are like that. It's sad because a lot of people.
99.9%.
Yeah, I think if they had the knowledge and the contacts that a lot of people are starting to get these days through the last 10 years or so, I think hopefully they would have saved a lot more lives. But then you can't come back from that. Once it's suicide, you can't come back and sorry guys or something. It's a very null and void sort of feeling, for a lot of the people you leave behind, which is sad.
It's 10 years on and it still hurts. Like we'll never get over it. You just learn to live with it.
That's right.
I suppose too, like the real life impact we get to see when we go to schools and businesses, the people that come up to us and have the conversations with us afterwards.
Yeah. Because
sometimes it does feel like a job, because you've got to keep the doors open, you've got to keep the lights on.
That's right.
We don't get any government assistance. So, through COVID, that was hard.
Yeah.
But it is all worth it when people reach out to us to let us know that we've had a positive impact on their life.
Yeah, that's a major thing for anyone, I think, when they're doing the work that you're doing. So Mate, I just want to thank you for your time. I'm glad I snatched you up while you're in Melbourne, and mate, some great insight to that for my listeners and watchers, and I think that hopefully will help. I don't care if it really helps one person. I'd love to help everyone, but appreciate your time and the Living crew and what you guys do in the community throughout Australia. So, yeah, thank you for your time, my friend.
Thank you for having me. And if anyone wants to reach out to us, please feel free. We're here to help. And you know, if we don't have the answers, we'll be sure to point you in the right direction.
Yep. No, appreciate your time, mate.
Thank you.